of that amount, based on the formula that's in place now, there's 75 projects that are going to be allocated. They're supposedly shovel-ready projects. Guess how much money the city of Jackson is allocated under this plan? $2.5 million. $2.5 million. And I'll bet you nobody on the city council or in the mayor's office can tell you that. But we know that because we're talking to the folks at MDOT, and a week ago the amount was zero. You know, so I think talking to them got them to found a little money so it wasn't a big fat zero, but it's only $2.5 million. Now there's an imbalance here and a disconnect here somehow that needs to be corrected. I would dare say that the 240 some odd million is supposed to go to schools for improvements in schools. If we're not careful, Jackson Public School System will be getting a paltry amount of that. Somebody's asleep at the wheel here. And we need to fix that. And this is not something that the next mayor can fix. That stimulus package is here now. And if we're not careful, we're going to end up on the short end of the stick.
Yes, sir, Senator Horhn. Just north of here, adjacent to us, is a vacant, previously precinct 4. And that was the only precinct on this side of the interstate serving northeast Jackson. As many of us know, there's a tremendous crime problem in our city, but a lot of it that doesn't make the headlines is the personal property issues. And that's evident by the number of gated communities you now see going down County Line Road. Do you think that there's a possibility that this property that belongs to the city is sitting there vacant, that was a precinct? And I know that there's a proposal to do a precinct 5 downtown, which I have no problem with. Do you think that the citizens of zip code 39211 might have a precinct over here anytime in the future?
Well, to answer your question, we need to go back to community policing as a concept. And we need to put as many police precincts, but also police substations in the city as possible, so that the police are as accessible to the neighborhoods in the city as possible. The other thing in my, just talking to a lot of public safety folks, that I found out is police response time is pretty long in many instances. But from what I gather, it's not necessarily the police officers who are on the beats problem. The problem is with dispatch. A few years ago, there was a complaint about dispatch, folks calling, being put on hold for 10 to 15 minutes. So now dispatch answers the call. It's just what happens after they answer that becomes the problem. I think there's an issue of training. There's an issue of morale that's affecting the folks in dispatch to the point where they're not making good decisions to route those calls as quickly as possible where they need to go so citizens can get a more immediate action. The police department has bad morale right now. Every major crime stat is up in Jackson right now. I will tell you that today in the state Senate, I authored a bill that we introduced a couple of days ago, or yesterday, after a House bill died, that was a capital city restoration bill that would provide for a sales tax increase. And I'll be honest with you, some folks may not like that, but I'll explain it. Sales tax increase that would provide for a means to raise money where 60% of the people of the city who live here would vote on whether or not to do this, but it would increase the sales tax by 1% on everything except for groceries, except for hotels and restaurants and prescription drugs. That money would raise about $21 million. We've exhausted all other avenues with the state. We've tried the payment of little taxes, they won't do it. We've tried to do an additional diversion of sales tax that we collect and have the state rebate more of it back to. They won't do it. So our last option, it seems to me, is saying, okay, we're willing to let our folks decide whether they want to do it. And if it passes, we've got a pretty hard vote tomorrow. We were able the bill, on the House bill failed by one vote 2 days ago. We brought the Senate bill back, and it passed overwhelmingly in the Finance Committee, but now it's got to go to the full Senate, and there may be a battle tomorrow. But if we pass that, we will have an opportunity to create this fund that will provide another $7 million to the Jackson Police Department and the Fire Department, and another $14 million to fix these bad streets. But you can only use the money for those two purposes: public safety and fixing the streets. And if the citizens of the city, if the bill passes, and we're given the opportunity to present it to the citizens, we'll leave it up to y'all to say, do we want to do this? But I think that we've got to make a commitment and demonstrate to the state, to the legislature, that we're willing to make a commitment. We've already made a $27 million commitment on the bond issue, and for streets that we just recently passed. We're giving tax increment financing, we're giving ad valorem tax exemption to generate business. We've got a new police recruiting class that's going on right now. We're making a commitment in the city. But I think we got to demonstrate to the state that we're willing to make a bigger commitment before we're going to get a commitment from the state. Yes, ma'am.
It's clear that you understand the importance of a strategic plan. Could you talk a little bit about about the process that you would take, steps you would take in putting such a plan in place?
Well, first of all, I'd like to get some of the best minds who understand crime prevention, who understand economic development, who understand education, who understand what we need if we're going to become competitive. And we know we have a high dropout rate. We know we have a situation where 78% of our kids, for example, are in households where there's a single parent, and where the socioeconomic conditions are pretty dire. So we need to get someone who understanding all that and understanding where the opportunities lie in terms of training and careers and so forth, that we put a plan together that speaks to that. So I want to find the best talent that I can find to work on this and not spend all day on it. This is not rocket science in many instances. Some of it may be very complicated. But there are folks who are doing great housing projects in this country. There's some of it going on right here in the state. And I don't see why we can't avail ourselves of some of that brain trust to devise some plans for Jackson. There's an $11 million allocation that's about to come to the city of Jackson for state